All right, let's get everybody up in here before it's officially time to go. Got to get our Facebook folks in here and that hub, right? The hub. Hopefully I picked the right one. We got the check marks. There we go. Welcome in, everybody. It is Monday morning, November 15th at 7:30 Mountain Time. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, my good friend and co-host Scott Kennedy. Scott, how are you doing, buddy?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. It's a fasting morning because I have to go get jabbed for blood work after this. So I'm hungry. I'm hangry, but you're still allowed to drink coffee. So we'll get
God
that
bless.
caffeinated bliss going here shortly. But
Have to.
yeah, strange weekend, and not just I know we're in a bubble here and have tunnel vision, but if you look across the NFL, there was some weird scores. It was like, this is halfway through, and instead of playing 17 games, we're going to play 16, and we're going to take a game off. And half the teams did, because
Yeah.
there were more blowouts than I remember seeing in a long time in 1 week.
Yeah, it wasn't great for obviously we like to talk a little bit of Falcons as well. That was a crazy game. Mike White crashed back to earth. How about Tom Brady losing to the Washington football team? That was crazy. The Browns getting absolutely
I say the
blown
Browns
out.
got poleaxed.
The Steelers lose with a tie, right? I know they don't officially lose, but 16-16 against the Lions. Panthers whipping the best team in football so far this season. Chargers losing at home. I mean, it was the Seahawks putting up 0 points against the Packers. It was a weird week of football, but we do have to talk about the Broncos before we get started, though. Nathan coming in with I believe it's a pair drinking coffee, is what Scott said. So
It's a pair offering up some coffee. So thank you. Cheers, Broncos for breakfast.
ah, man, so good. Yeah, guys, this is Broncos for breakfast. Of course, we're going at you live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday morning. You can follow Scott and myself on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Guys, go to huddleuppod.com to get your swag on, as Chad likes to say. The holidays are right around the corner. Get yourself a coffee mug, get yourself a gator, a shirt, a hat. It's all there, and celebrate with us this season by supporting Mile High Huddle. Also, you can go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle to become a supporter, and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. YouTube folks, make sure you are subscribing, liking, and sharing, hitting that bell notifications. That way you know when we go live. And obviously, there's a lot of great football Broncos content creators out there, but we like to think we hang with any of them. So if you like us, make sure you're subscribing, liking, and sharing, getting Mile High Huddle out there with your fellow Bronco fans. So that way we can continue to go live. And also make sure you're going to Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat here. We got Clee saying the real Broncos showed up on Sunday, and what a treat it was. Man, it could be worse, Scott. I don't know if you saw this. I went to bed last night, feeling upset about the Broncos a little bit, and the headline comes across my feed that somewhere in southern Egypt, 500 people had to go to the hospital, and 5 people died because of scorpion swarms. Because of flooding, scorpions have come out of their burrows and hidden houses and attacked a whole bunch of people in southern Egypt.
Is that what
So
happened with the
could be
murder
worse.
hornets? I've said forever, if ants decided to take over the world, they could.
Probably.
They've got us outnumbered about 1,000,000 to 1. If there's ever an ant attack like that, we're all done for.
For sure. Sentient ants. It's the last thing we need on our apocalypse bingo card. But it's a scorpion swarm. Goodness gracious. But what a happy guy. Thanks to US Dave coming in there. We got Mo Ron saying hubba hubba. That's definitely directed at you, Scott. So we'll let you get that the morning light there. EJ's coming in. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. US Dave also go Broncos. Yeah. CC's in the house. Morning and all. Corey says Scott's loss was
out of that guy. Is Sean here yet? He's got to get that out of Blazing Saddles. Come on, someone. Nick probably hasn't seen Blazing Saddles.
I've seen Blazing Saddles. No, I've seen Blazing Saddles.
I didn't get a rump out of that guy.
Corey's calling you out here saying Scott's loss was worse, so I don't feel so bad. Yeah, that one, it was worse in a sense of the final score and the gameplay, but not worse as far as expectations, I would say.
See, the difference is expectations. After I watched Atlanta play Philly, and which is why I picked Philly last week, because I know what Philly can do in the trenches, and I've seen what Denver does against good trench teams. Yeah. My expectations for the Falcons was 2-15. So the fact that they've already won 4 games, to me, means that the coaching staff has done an above grade job considering what they had to work with. And we'll get to that with this team too. I mean, you don't just play 2 new offensive tackles and go and move the ball. You saw what happened to the Cowboys with one last week when you played them. Some of that was a bit of a mirage with the Cowboys. They go in an emergency and play well, but now, being a starter is a whole new ball of wax.
Yep, absolutely. We got Miguel coming in saying good morning from New Mexico, fellas. Hope you're doing well, Miguel.
Appreciate you, Miguel.
Thank you so
much,
Miguel.
And I'll get Chad to say your name at least close. I think I'm closer to your name with Santi Stefan than he has been so far with whatever he said that doesn't sound anything like that. So I'll work on him with that.
Sean coming in and saying, was it hard to watch? We can celebrate with a Fangio pink slip, please. It's probably coming around the corner at some point, maybe the end of the year, but it does feel like an inevitability. I mean, we got press game post conferences with the defensive tackle calling out coaching. So things are starting to get a little dicey there.
Normally I've said before, when local beat writers start turning a little bit, that they don't have to protect that relationship with the coaching staff anymore. So that the days are numbered.
Yeah.
That's when they start becoming a little more honest with the newspaper guys, legacy media guys. When Draymond Jones, when your players are saying it, it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Not great. KB82, good morning, fellas. Teddy, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a touchdown saving tackle. Woof, man, that one hurts. Mark Lindemode coming in saying, good morning, folks. Nick and Scott, hope all are doing better today after that gut-wrenching loss. Brett C, any QBs available in the draft around the middle of the first? We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Unfortunately, Brett C. Tim Durr, morning, fellows. Good to see you. CC saying, I'm thankful I had an exam during this game because I had interest in seeing a crapshoot. Lil Yell 69. There's literally no answer out there unless Mayfield walks or Corral falls into our lap. We're in purgatory for another season minimum. Miguel saying Kliss covering up Fangio, losing the locker room. Maybe a little bit, but Kliss is doing his job. So Keith Cummings disgusted by the Broncos. CC talking about AJ Terrell, though, goes, come join us on Tuesday mornings. We got US Dave saying rut roar prairie gibberish. Okay. We got Derek saying number 91 had played more.
He's going back to Blazing Saddles is what he is.
Oh, okay.
Reverend.
There we go. I got you.
First class frontier gibberish.
I get it. I've seen that once. It's definitely before my time.
Movie.
I was more of a Monty Python guy myself. Derek saying number 91 should have played. Reed is not good. Yeah, man. Malik Reed, a second game. Not great, but so we're pretty much caught up here on the chat.
Go ahead and hit on that one. I want to hit that one. What Keith just said too.
Okay, Kliss said Jones
may have just regurgitated what Fangio told the team. I have a question for you. Do you think that's the first time that a coach has said blame us in a backroom meeting and an after thing? So we didn't do a good enough job. Do you think that's the first time? Because that's the first time I've heard him say it.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what he was saying. Exactly.
Yep, and we got Chris coming in. Chris is always a star giver, so this might be stars here. I'm just going to assume so because we need the good vibes this morning. Saying good morning, all. Hope everyone is having an awesome morning. Coffee helps, so you help, Kliss. We really appreciate you.
Big time start from Chris. Thank you, Chris. And I still have your paper. It's down here in my office somewhere. So I've got your address. I'm more likely to drive it out to you in New Mexico than I am actually to find a post office. So that will happen. I still have it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we got a super coming in here from Base Gay saying, looking at the potential coaching replacements, do you think Dan Quinn to be the front runner as reported? Scott, you probably have more opinions on this than I do. Dan Quinn has been somebody who the Broncos media has been linking to Denver. I'm not sure how real that linkage is, given how cloak and dagger George Payton seems to be. I mean, he could hire somebody out of left field, and I wouldn't be surprised given how secretive he can be with this kind of stuff. But Dan Quinn seems to be heavily linked. Dallas's defense has been better than the sum of their parts this season for the most part, I would say. And Quinn has experience and is kind of a player motivator. So obviously, about him with Atlanta.
Dan Quinn is absolutely a player's coach. Players love him. They still love him. He's the kind that players will go and take less money to go play for if they've played for him before, which is that speaks volumes. Clock management was not his strong suit, obviously. But part of that, I still talk about the Falcons' woes and where they went bad. I always lay 90% of that at the feet of Thomas Dimitroff, the general manager.
Yeah.
And we can get into it over and over and over again. Is Dan Quinn the best you can do? Probably not. If I had my choice between Quinn and Kellen Moore, and I'm not saying you do, I'd be interested in going a little riskier with Kellen Moore on that. But Dan Quinn is not necessarily a bad option. I think he can come back in and take what he learned when he had good success with the Falcons. I mean, he went to a Super Bowl. We know how that turned out. But, a winning record with the Atlanta Falcons is nothing to sneeze at. That didn't happen a lot in the Falcons history. So you could do worse than Dan Quinn. There's a lot to like there, and there's a lot to make you nervous too.
Yep, absolutely. Maybe getting a player coach would help right the ship. Maybe it's not the guy, but it helps kind of rectify what's going on in there right now. Howie freaking Day coming in saying, but Vic said he assured Teddy would have tried to tackle if he could. Shake my head. Yeah, I mean, the tape doesn't look good. Maybe it's being a little bit overreactionary. And if anything, I guess let's get into this attempt. There's a lot that went wrong in this game. This is probably the main talking point coming out of this game is that Teddy.
Howie.
Thank you very much, Howie. Yeah. For me, it looks bad. I don't care. I see Damian Crockett out there, former Broncos defensive back in the Denver media. If Melvin Gordon doesn't fumble it after picking up the 4th and 1 when you're down 1 score and driving in the opposing's plus territory, you don't have to worry about that. But alas, you give your defense a chance by making that tackle attempt, and the optics look bad. And I know that Teddy is loved in that locker room, but I think it's pretty hard from where I stand that, if he's out there asking you to go out there and lay it all on the line and you put on an attempt like that. And I know injuries, 1-year contract, protecting himself, but in that moment, you got to make a play. I think you got to make an attempt and make a play, and it just did not look good.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this. The only narrative I don't want to see is there was plenty to go wrong to talk about in this game besides Teddy doing that. That was an egregious – that was almost like, how do I explain the Denver Broncos right now to somebody else? I can point to that play.
Yeah.
That's it.
It encapsulates
right there. This team doesn't play for this coaching staff. But there's – multitudes of things we can get into of why the Broncos lost this game. And it wasn't just that play. That play was, I don't think disgusting is too strong a word, honestly. I was pretty disgusted when I saw it.
I was so disappointed.
if I'm Melvin Gordon, that's part of it. Disgust and disappointment. It's just, if I'm Melvin Gordon, I'm angry at myself. And then, I go back to my quarterback and say, are you joking? How about picking me up here? Teddy's not one to bash other players, at least, like as far as, you don't see him getting after if a guy misses a block, he's not getting in their faces. Because if he was that type of guy and I was a right tackle and had given up a sack and he got after me, I might have choke slammed him after something like that. That was disappointing. It was disgusting. It was all of those things. He's got some damage control to do in that locker room. He does. Yeah. He absolutely has some damage control to do in that locker room. If he wants to keep the respect of that team, if he even cares. I mean, I'm sure he does. He's a good professional. But, make a dive at his knees. Do something. And the only thing, as I'm watching, I'm watching this in hindsight, knowing what happens. The only thing I can even think of is who was it? I wrote down his name. It was Barnett, I think. Barnett, with 6 minutes left in the third quarter, came in with a personal foul that would have gotten him ejected in college. Came in and drove his, crown of the helmet, dead to the chest, dead to the chin. Is Teddy even all there? He came back and had some nice throws, some good throws, and looked fine. But did he have his eggs scrambled again? I don't know. That's the only thing I can even think of that even somewhat excuses that.
Yeah.
But in any other way, there is no excuse for that. There is, everybody's out there laying it on the line. So do you.
Yep. Will saying we're overreacting here to Teddy not diving. I mean, it's not the reason the Broncos lost this game, but as you hinted at it kind of encapsulates this game and this season so far. You got to go out there and make a play after you make a mistake, not drop like that. And it looks bad, but people saying that the Broncos win this game if they don't have Teddy Bridgewater out there. There's probably 3 quarterbacks in the NFL that you win this game with because you were that thoroughly beaten in every single phase of the game. Mm-hmm. Offense is beaten, defense is beaten, special teams is beaten. Your coaching is outcoached. It's the grand slam, quad. What's the opposite of what's one more besides the trifecta? All 4. You touched on it.
Hat trick, and then there's the golden sombrero.
Yeah, the golden sombrero. It was really bad. You're down. You give up 20 points on 5 possessions defensively. Typically, a team has, 7 possessions per half because how the Eagles were able to march the football down the field because your defense showed absolutely no resistance. You gave up 20 points, and it would have been more if the Eagles had a little bit more time, but it's because they were so effective moving the ball in the first half. They didn't have enough time to score another touchdown. So you're down, 20-10, giving up 4 points per possession, which there's no team in the NFL even giving up more than 3 points per possession. So the Broncos almost a whole point extra than that, which is dreadful. The Eagles' points per possession went down after they scored a field goal. Make it make sense. But it was rough. It was bad all around. Keep getting into it here. We got to. Travis coming in here saying morning for once, fellas. We need a new coaching staff, no doubt, and an actual franchise quarterback. At least our Hawkeyes got it done Saturday. Amen, Travis. Going down, man. Every single game is holding on for dear life, but a win's a win, I guess. But yeah, no, let's keep on this. And Miguel, you can probably answer this one, Scott. I need to get some coffee.
Yeah, it's the answer is 500. 500 stars to enter the raffle, and there right now the way things are going, there's probably going to be 2 raffles because the stars goal was 200,000 stars for the month, and we should hit that in the next day or two, and then we'll start a new one. So there might be 2 different raffles, but it's 500 stars, and then the YouTube contributions are counting as well. Shane coming in with some stars. Shane, we if we missed you last night, I don't know if you saw. We saw it come in yesterday, the stars that you had last night, and if it didn't tally on the scoreboard, we'll make sure that happens. We know you were there. You gave big stars as always, and are always just a huge contributor and benefactor for our shows. And he says that game was so hard to watch. Seeing Teddy give up like that was just a symptom of the coaching. Attitude reflects leadership. Captain.
Yep. Not great. We got CC also saying business decision by Teddy. How does this affect the locker room? How do players view Teddy? This is soft play. Teddy has implications further than just giving up a touchdown. Yeah, no, it's rough. And Ivan, yes, Ivan. I was like, I even thought about it.
That was a Y instead of a Z on the end.
Yes.
Then it might be Ivan, but with the Perez, it's Ivan.
Yes. Ivan, the most incredible thing is that Fangio is not looking at effort of his quarterback to make a tackle. Where was his attention? I don't know. It's frustrating.
Don't pay attention to what that coaches say the same thing after a bad play every single press conference for the history of all time. I got to check the film.
Yep.
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm gonna have to check the film.
Yeah,
don't worry about that.
DWI guys, pretty much hitting on what I'm feeling here too. I bet Teddy's teammates have a different view on him today, as I certainly do after watching that lack of effort on the fumble recovery. Yeah, I'm big sad, man, big disappointed. You can't do that. I know he's protecting the football, but you talk about conservatism on the field to a point where it's detrimental, right? And that's throwing the football, that's making the tackle. And let's get into this a little bit. Let's break down Teddy, because we always like to add a little bit of perspective. I've had a chance to, unfortunately, guys, watch through this game twice. And again, I really stand by the statement that there are probably only 3 quarterbacks in the NFL where you have a chance in this game, given the circumstances around Bridgewater. But Bridgewater is what he is, right? Like this game, I said it, I don't know if it was this show or one of the many shows I did last week, but like if you fall behind early and you have to play catch up with Teddy Bridgewater, you're done, because you're out of your comfort zone with him. Drop back, and the offensive line with 3 backups, especially on the tackle position, you're going to be cooked. You cannot get behind early and have a no resistant defense, which we saw, and expect to come back. And the Broncos, to their credit, they were, what was it, the third quarter, fourth quarter, 1 possession driving. They were right in it despite so many factors going against them. But then the fumble happened, and clown music ensues. But Teddy, yeah, what's going on? What is your thoughts here?
As far as the overall play, like I said, this game, whether or not that play happens, I don't know. I don't know, because I think the fumble itself was obviously, to me, more damaging than the lack of effort.
Oh yeah, you converted on 4th and short,
and you got a chance to pick up a first down. You're dominating a team in the third quarter. You're looking at a tie at worst. But Melvin Gordon, and for my money, Melvin Gordon's done this season with critical carries.
Yeah, it has to be.
In times like that, I think that's twice trying to salt the game away against Washington, puts it on in places that you just absolutely cannot fumble.
Yep.
I mean, those are there's times where it's like, okay, I get it. You see a punch come in or something like that. When you're out in the open field, I get it, and sometimes it happens, but that's twice where you can't lose the ball in there and be a professional running back or be counted on. So I think in crucial moments, I think we're done seeing Melvin Gordon carry the ball for the most part. There will be rotation things, but we talk about trust with players a lot, and you can't trust him right now to carry the ball. He had a bad game. But going back to Teddy's play, the offensive line and pass pro was so poor that he's checking the ball down, he's not going long. It's every time he sets in a 5-step or a 7-step drop, as soon as his weight hit his back foot, there was someone in his face or on him. You can't just put in 2 new offensive tackles and 3 backup offensive linemen and expect to just keep on clicking at the highest rate for an offense that was struggling anyway.
Yeah.
I kind of joked. The good news is those guys weren't playing very well. The bad news is they were still ahead of the guys that they were starting for, and it showed. It really did show. And then on the other side of the line of scrimmage, the very first play action, a naked boot for a run, and Jalen Hurts picks it up, and my first thought was, my God, he could have handed it off and gone for 20 yards. Well, he did the next play. He just went right up the middle. I'm like, if you can't run, stop the run, protect your quarterback, or put pressure on the quarterback in a base defense, you're not going to win many football games.
Yeah, and DWI guys coming here, $33, symbolic here, saying thank you. Javonte should have been given the ball in that situation, but your team leader is giving up on a play is far more damaging long term. That's a symptom of everything that's going on, unfortunately. But I kind of get it's a double-edged sword because Javonte Williams has more run stuffs than any running back in football so far this season. And on a 4th and 1, what's the one thing you can't have? Well, I guess what's the one thing you can't have is a fumble. But the one thing you also can't have is a run stuff there. So Melvin Gordon doesn't get run stuffed very often. He's pretty good at picking up positive yards, but my God, man, you just woof. You can't have that. Teddy Bridgewater, you hit it on here. It really is a symptom of who he is and what we thought he would be all season. He is somebody who doesn't really throw guys open with the arm talent, with the arm strength. He's not going to be pressing 2 deep safeties vertically because that is going to lead to turnovers for Teddy Bridgewater more often than not. So his average depth of target, his spray chart, whatever you want to say in this game, looks pretty dreadful. Now, a lot of that is the offensive line.
Ball.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of it is ground balls. God, a lot of it is the offensive line, but a lot of it is also Teddy Bridgewater. And credit to the Eagles defense. They play. It's really frustrating to watch the Broncos because they, on both sides of the ball, they play a system and scheme like the other side is dominant. We can be conservative on one side because the other side is dictating. Broncos are, the secondary kind of play on both sides of the ball where they're very passive. And when you get behind like this, good luck. So the Broncos then are going into a defense that's playing, I think, the highest rate of 2 deep safeties in the NFL. They also play the highest rate of off coverage in the NFL. What does that mean? There's a lot of yards underneath. And that's what the Broncos did. And you can live in that world if your defense isn't getting absolutely embarrassed on the field. I mean, you talked about how many yards in the first half was it?
270.
Oh my God, 270 yards in the first half, 20 points on 5 possessions in the first half. They were, I think, 3-1 in time of possession compared to the Broncos. They were marching up and down the field, and the defense did not have even close to an answer. Jordan Howard on the day, 12 carries, 83 yards, 6.9 yards a carry. Boston Scott, 11 carries, 81 yards, 7.4 yards a carry. You're getting absolutely your doors blasted off in the front 7. And I know that we were excited about Jonathan Cooper last week, and there's some Malik Reed fans as well. I know he led the team in tackles. This was the Cleveland game all over again. And you touched on it as far as the Eagles were far better than the Broncos in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Now, some of that is injuries in the offensive line, but here we are, far better in the trenches. And they picked on those Broncos edges time and time again. Malik Reed, oh my God, man. This horrible bad game. The linebacker is horrible, terrible. You got embarrassed on every single phase of the game.
But Miguel, we'll get to you in just one second. I wanted to comment on that because for me, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking like the front of the defense of the front 7 was the most disappointing. I mean, Curtis Robinson had a terrible game, but isn't he like your 9th linebacker?
Yeah,
I mean, ninth string at this
you feel
point.
bad
How
for
many
him.
guys have you lost? Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute. The edges weren't getting it done either, but you're on at least your second or third guys there. Malik Reed isn't supposed to be a starter. It's supposed to be Bradley
No.
Chubb. Von Miller
Yeah.
was traded away. John the Cooper had a good game. But
Yeah.
again, there's a lot to be disappointed with. To try and keep a little bit of perspective in here. Again, 3 new offensive linemen. Who wins? Who wins that game against a team that is dominant on the front four in the trenches? Who wins that game? You're
They were
running. We
moving the ball
talked
on the
about.
ground.
I know you were kind of poking fun at the Philadelphia linebacking core last week. But who are your linebackers for this game? When you're devastated because your rookie making his second start in his career is out, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And Curtis Robinson, God bless him, he was in the wrong spot all day. The only time I saw him making tackles was on after 15-yard runs. Kenny Young's been there about 15 minutes and was willing to be let go by the Rams for $1 million of cap room.
Mm-hmm.
So, honestly, in the first half, your best defensive player was Kyle Fuller. And they were using him as a linebacker, as a nickel back playing up in the box. Yep. So, he was attacking the backfield. If I was the guys that you expect to be better, and I don't necessarily want to call anybody out, but where was Shelby Harris this game? The defensive line. Draymond Jones was actually decent, except in special teams. I see why they asked Draymond Jones what happened on that block field goal, because they came in through his side twice. But this team is running on reserves, and they weren't playing that well to begin with. It wasn't entirely unpredictable that this could happen, but watching your quarterback finish a play like that just makes you freaking mad.
Yeah.
And it stirs up the emotions, and it takes logic away from it, because now I'm pissed.
Yep.
Now I'm pissed. I don't care about all those other things. There's no excuse for quitting on a play like that.
Yeah, and again, just adding some nuance to this conversation, I thought that the Broncos' game plan on offense was to really attack the Eagles over the middle of the field, really make sure their linebackers on the field, and the Broncos did a pretty good job with that. I thought early on, despite the limited possessions, you had Albert Okwuegbunam getting involved, you had Sauber getting involved. Welcome back, Noah Fant. The run game is picking up yards in chunks, even though they're already down 10-0 after 2 possessions, which is terrible. But the biggest issue with me and Teddy in that first half is they are getting just because of the arm talent. It's not so much the pushing the ball vertically, because I think that's a lot dictated on what the Eagles were doing schematically and your offensive line limiting you. Because Cameron Fleming might as well have put a chauffeur hat and guided an edge rusher to the quarterback every play. Just horrible right tackle play. Fourth right tackle. Like, if you're down to your fourth right tackle, I can't think of a single team who would be in a good situation, but he's god awful. But it's Teddy Bridgewater and this Broncos offense in the red zone, right? Like, that's the issue where where Teddy's skills and that play calling is not enough. You have space to work underneath and work everything like that until the field gets compressed because you're in the red zone. And then you need to have the arm talent, push the ball, hit those tight windows, use your legs, something to create. The Broncos offense consistently this season, and happening again in this game, piddle out once they get into the red zone, because you're missing that plus at the quarterback position. And this isn't just this year. This is historically with Teddy in his career. The red zone offense has been bottom in the NFL, not good enough. You walk away with you're in the red zone, I think 5 times in this game, and you only walk away with 1 touchdown. That's not good enough to win the games. That's not good enough. And again, this is, if you have maybe Aaron Rodgers on your team, you maybe win this game, or Patrick Mahomes, the way he was playing last night, maybe you win this game because of how bad you're getting beat in every single other phase of the game. But you have to be better in the red zone, and Teddy has his fair share of criticism, because I don't want to be, I hear people screaming for Locke. I hear people, everybody blaming it on Teddy. That's so disingenuous and not the truth of the situation of this game. But there are plenty of things to criticize.
Yeah, there's reasons to be mad at Teddy Bridgewater for sure. And again, going back to the risk reward on this, you mentioned Mahomes and Rodgers, or a top 3 quarterback. You don't get a top 3 quarterback for a 6th rounder and someone else paying 75% of your of his salary. That doesn't happen. Getting back to this, I know Fangio probably won't, but it's time for Drew. Miguel, thanks for being patient on this.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks.
I don't know if Fangio has Drew in the never ever camp. I heard the Mile High Huddle guys last night say something that I've been saying for a while. You might see Brett Rippon before you see Drew Lock. Then we'll know for sure exactly if he's in the never ever camp with Fangio. But Bridgewater's got some work to do in the locker room this week. Over the next 2 weeks, there's a bye week. So over the next 2 weeks, he's got some damage control to do. Otherwise, if I'm the coach of that team, I would abso-freaking-lutely turn and say, you're going to sit this one out. It's not like he's been playing at such a high level that you cannot live without him. No. So I would say you're gonna sit this one out, Drew, suit up. I would absolutely do that. And yeah, for sure. Is it time? Next week, 2 weeks? Yeah, I'd give Drew a start on that. That's unacceptable quarterback play. It's unacceptable.
Yep. And also the Broncos, the formula was supposed to be amazing defense, good run game, ball protection. And you had the ball protection, zero interceptions from Teddy Bridgewater. You had the amazing run game despite, not having the ample opportunities. The Broncos running backs, averaging Javonte Williams, 6 yards a carry, Melvin Gordon, 5 yards a carry. Now it's really hard to run the football. Like, oh, why didn't Shermer run the ball? Or excuse me, God, it's just automatic at this point. Why didn't whoever run the ball? Well, you're down 20 points. Or you're down 20-10 and they're averaging 4 yards of possession. Yeah, you need to score chunk plays and you need to not drain the clock, which is what the ground game is for. Pass game, keeping up, trying to score points. Run game, milking the clock, getting out of there. You have to have the lead for that run game to really be that effective. And we got Howie coming back in saying, come on, even the broadcast guys are saying Teddy was holding the ball too long. How to slow down the rush, play action, outside runs with Williams, maybe some screens. Come on, excuses have to stop. It was bad play calling and terrible effort. I don't think it's really so much excuses as we're trying to break down how everything went wrong so emphatically all across the board. I mean, the Broncos, terrible on screens. Well, who is that? Teddy arm talent? I know it's not throwing it very far, but you have to get it there quickly to give your guy time in space. Otherwise, everybody corrals. Maybe that's part of the issue.
I made a note on this in the first quarter, and it seems like every time your opposition runs a screen, the Broncos are blitzing. So you got 7 guys behind the ball. Every time the Broncos run a screen, a team's in contain. So they got an 8-man parachute just sitting there waiting for you, where at best you're getting to the line of scrimmage. So I don't know. In baseball, we'd say you're tipping your pitches, So is there something that's going on that's saying, screen, screen, screen? They see it coming because you don't ever catch anybody in a screen where you're getting behind a rush and they're going ever. But it seems to happen to the Broncos every time. There's a jailbreak blitz. And there's a screen. They run right to it every time. It's uncanny. And if it's that uncanny, I've heard Chad say I don't believe in coincidences. Are you tipping your plays? And as far as I'm not making any excuses for Teddy Bridgewater, Howie. But I will say that you have 2 new offensive tackles in there. It makes it tough to run your offense.
Yeah, and I mean, the deal was great defense plus, say, an average offense, and almost all the parameters have the Broncos having, 15th or 12th to 17th offense. But after this game, this is very upsetting. After this game, the Broncos, no doubt in my mind, are going to have a bottom 10 defense according to DVOA because they were 23rd before this game, which would put them at 11th, or excuse me, 22nd, which would put them at 11th. The way the Eagles just absolutely pantsed them, embarrassed them to the tune of just efficiency, marching it down the field, play after play after play. This Broncos defense, they're probably going to be closer to a bottom 5 defense this week than they are middle of the pack.
And Ethan, it's not always a failed pass. Sometimes it's a penalty.
Yep.
That's a joke, Nick, if you're listening.
Okay. I really hate seeing that. Okay. Yeah. That's upsetting. We got Max coming in here too.
Never mind. Wah, wah.
Sorry. It's got Max coming in saying thoughts on Doug Peterson for the next head coach. I think Nick said he would use tight ends as a main personnel grouping. He definitely used tight ends in Philly. That was partially dictated by personnel. Obviously, if you have, who was just traded to the Eagles? Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, you're going to use your tight ends. Goddard, I mean, Broncos even had a gift in this game because Goddard was moving the ball great and he concussed after like the second drive and it didn't even matter because you're getting housed. I mean, you mentioned it, man. I just thoughts to Curtis Robinson because Buddy is not supposed to be out there and it's I
I don't blame.
It's like they
If
dressed
a
us.
player's not good enough, I don't blame him. I'm not going to get mad at Curtis Robinson for not being good enough. It's not his fault that he's not good enough. I will get on somebody. Effort and attitude. Those are the ones. You can always be a good teammate. You can always give good effort, and you can always have good attitude. Those are the three. When I see one of those tick down, I'll start getting on a player.
Yep.
Otherwise, I mean, I'm not going to get on Curtis Robinson. He is who he is. He was about the 7th or 8th choice at inside linebacker. He's not good enough. That's not his fault.
No.
Appreciate the effort, but you need some guys getting healthy again. Travis coming in with some stars. So also kind of sorry for how bad the Cowboys beat down Scott's Falcons. Like I said, this one's more about we knew the Cowboys were going to have a response after that game at home against the Broncos, and it was a bad time for the Falcons to be going in there. I had this conversation with my friend. He's like, he's getting on the coaches. I'm like, I counted them up. I'm like, there might be 8 out of the starting 22 players that are average or above average on the Falcons across both sides. So you got 7 holes on each side of the ball. What the hell are you expecting? Like I said, after I watched Falcons play Philly, I was expecting 2-15.
Yeah, not great.
Back in with some stars too.
Yeah, thoughts on Shula's play calling? I thought the play calling offensively was far from the issue because you had your hands tied behind your back with falling behind so quickly, so early. And I know that I don't think a lot of people appreciate how much game flow and possessions matter. Like if the Eagles were putting up, bombs right away, but the Broncos were able to possess the football, that's one thing. The Eagles were doing it in the most damning way for this Broncos team because they were holding onto the ball. There's no way they didn't have the ball 3-1 in that first half because how efficiently they were moving the football down the field. It means that your offense has very little time to get into rhythm. They have very few possessions, very few plays to get out there. I mean, you're 10-0 after having 3 plays. You're in trouble with this offense because you don't have Peyton Manning back there under center. Not many teams do. So I thought that the game plan itself was fine offensively. Your quarterback is who he is. He's limited. And with that, you need to lean into playing with the lead, lean into the running game, and try to protect him from the offensive line. I thought they did that overall, and you gave yourself a chance. One possession was that the third quarter or fourth quarter when that interception had? It was really close to the end of the third quarter.
I'm not sure. It was third quarter. That was bringing you back in.
Yep, you were very close.
That was all the momentum in the world coming, your 1-score game. I think that was the possession that led to the fumble.
Yep, it was. Yeah. That's what I couldn't remember which, if it was the beginning of the fourth quarter, end of the third, but you were one possession driving the football despite having all these parameters that saying you shouldn't be in it. So I actually thought the offensive game plan made sense for what it was, but that only works if your defense isn't getting absolutely blown out, the doors blown off of them on every single play and on the ground game.
And Shane coming back in with stars says the reason people want Locke is because in all the games he played, we never questioned his effort or seen him give up. I think it's a little more nuanced than that. Like I said, I've now said, I'd absolutely play Drew Lock. I'd sit Teddy on the bench for at least a week, and just say, okay, here it is. For me, people wanted Locke because with Teddy Bridgewater, best case scenario, you're looking at average. And people don't want to hear that. It's like, oh, you mean the best I'm going to get is mediocre? Well, mediocre was a giant step up from where you've had the last couple of years. So that is improving the team. In a robotically logical sense, okay, I just got better at the quarterback. I'm getting better at the quarterback position. But people want Locke because of the hope that he can be more than that. The hope that he can end up being a franchise guy. Mm-hmm. That's why people want Locke. Doesn't mean he's going to be, but you have that hope. With Teddy, you don't have that hope that he's going to be the franchise guy because he's not going to be, despite, and I've said this before, try not to harp too much on what you hear guys say in press conferences because George Payton saying we might have the franchise guy on our roster already in the summer. What's he supposed to say?
Yeah.
That's just talk. He's not going to come out and say, we're going to bring in Teddy for a year before we go into the draft and build for the future. You don't say that publicly, so don't worry about what he says, but we can. And we've said it for 6 months now that if Teddy wins this job, you got a new quarterback for sure in 2023.
Yeah, I know it's the. Did you ever watch Family Guy? Are you much of a Family Guy?
I did not.
Okay. There's a scene with a mystery box in a boat where they go to a timeshare meeting, and it's like, oh, you can have the boat or you can get the mystery box. And Drew Lock is the mystery box because it could be a
Well,
pop
except
a balloon.
you're not getting
You're not getting a boat.
The boat
Yeah, you're
is,
not getting a boat.
yeah, the boat is, a nice little bass fishing boat. It's not a yacht.
No, it's a $20 gift card to Chili's. Let's be real. But the other one's, a popped balloon in the box. You don't even know. But it's a mystery box, so might as well just check it out. I get the feeling as well. It's a lot of hope there with Drew Lock. And to be fair, you had the 4-game stretch at the end of 2019 that built up a lot of hope. And last year, a lot of things went off the rail. I think this game is probably not even, it's even less close with Lock out there, personally, because he's probably turning the ball over and then it really snowballs. But, maybe when you're getting beat this bad defensively, and the turnovers start ramping up, at least you're taking some vertical shots and you have a chance, right? It's this type of game where the defense is getting pantsed. And it's like, okay, quarterback has to go out there and make some plays because that's our only shot, right? Like we need the shooter to get hot, and you don't have that with Penny.
There was another play in goal to go situation, and it may have been the one that led to the blocked field goal, where Teddy's running left and ends up throwing, I think, a little bit behind Judy, going towards where it's like you can't complete that pass.
No,
and if you put your head down and run, you might be able to score.
Yeah,
he's timid.
Yeah,
he's fragile right now. That was a play that typifies his lack of, I don't want to get the hell beat out of me anymore. That wasn't as egregious as the very obvious one of, I'm going to have to throw my head at this guy's knees that's running full speed. I'm not going to do it. On that one, if he had ducked his shoulder and just gone, he was about 7 yards out, he probably scores. So, I don't know how healthy the guy even is at this point in his career either, after having some horrific injuries. And Travis coming in with some more stars, saying one positive is Quinn Miners absolutely belongs as a starter on the O-line. He was taking care of Fletcher Cox for most of the game and getting to the second level as well. I was pretty pleased with how Quinn Miners played in this game. I think it's better than you've gotten from Glasgow up until this point. So there was some hot and cold, obviously, as you're going to get with any rookie.
Yeah.
But, I think you've got 7 games left.
7 games.
Bye week. I think he's only going to get better. And that's a building block for the future. Appreciate the stars, Travis.
Yeah, I really appreciate the stars, Travis. Yeah, I went to the Pro Football Focus just to see what their preliminary grades were, and they have Quinn Miners as the worst graded player on the field for the Broncos offense, of course. But looking at this doesn't make any sense because he has
grading the graders.
Yeah, who's grading the graders?
All that type of stuff. I think they're fun. People understand the grades, but you gotta use your eyes and trust yourself what you see as well, and especially in the run. Travis, you said it was getting up to the second level. He was chipping and moving up. I thought Miners played well, and it not just for he's a rookie, but I thought he was okay.
Yeah, well, talk about who's grading the graders. Looking at they obviously correct the grades in hindsight. They really want to get the grades up quickly after the game, but then they correct some things. Who do you think the Broncos' number 1 graded player was on Pro Football Focus for offense? I'll give you a hint. That's a good guess. Okwuegbunam is 13th. Number 1, somebody who didn't even play the gosh damn game. It's Bobby Massey. He's number 1. He says he had 27 reps. Also, we have Graham Glasgow listed here with 39 reps. So obviously, don't listen to those grades until they've been finalized.
You know who the highest graded guard was in the NFL?
Who?
Jalen Mayfield.
Oh, wow.
Left guard, Atlanta Falcons. I promise you, he was not the best guard in the NFL this week. So again, who's grading the graders? It's a nice guide. I always said, doing rankings forever that I've done, for NFL, for college football, all that stuff. I said, it's a guide. It's a guide. But if you're going to be serious about all this stuff, you gotta use your own judgment as well.
Yeah, and we got Andrew coming in saying, good morning. All I'm going to say is I'm tired of being right. Yeah, man, I thought the Broncos had a chance in this game because I thought the defense maybe finally figured something out. Maybe that aggressive coverage. But one thing I said in this game multiple times is that the Eagles are going to put your linebackers in flux more than any team you'd seen in a bit because of what Jalen Hurts can do out of the backfield with those quarterback read options. Luckily, the Broncos had some athleticism in Baron Browning, and you'd hope the defensive line kind of figured some stuff out last week. Unfortunately, Baron Browning gets hurt in this, I think the second possession of the game, with the back spasm, he tried to go and then he tweaks it and he's out. Now you're playing Curtis Robinson, Justin Strnad, and Kenny Young. And man, how about that? I'm still laughing at Kenny Young. Everybody was really excited to crown him, and we got to pay this guy, this linebacker. There was the play where it was a Jalen Hurts read option, and Kenny Young's back is to the quarterback for like 10 yards down the field where he's covering again. That's it's a tough situation. I get it, but just comical.
Again, I think you've heard the phrase recency bias. I like to think more of baseball terms. 162 games. The back of the card is, at the end of the day, you're the player. The back of your card says you're going to have your ups and downs, especially in an emotional game like football. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Last week, we were talking about Bridgewater, this and that. After a really good game against the Cowboys, I'm like, he's here now, but he's still going to have the bad games that are going to bring him back down. At the end of the day, he's going to be back into that 15 to 20 range. That's who he is. We know that. Yep. We know that. So if you're going to go have a top 5 game, there's going to be a 25 game that's going to be mixed in there too.
Yep. No, it's rough. And again, apparently George Payton was as mad as he's been all season after this game, and rightfully so. I mean, after seeing the product on the field there, it was unfortunate. But I think, this has got to be a death knell for, maybe that's the right phrase there, but for Vic Fangio, right? I mean, we've said that how many times, but you are only here. You're not considered a great schemer, or excuse me, a great leader. You're not a holistic approach guy. You're here because with your defensive scheming, with your eye for defensive talent and putting guys in position, you should have a top 10 defense every year. Full stop.
Andrew,
I mean, he did that.
Andrew Lampy on that when you said good morning. Thanks for the coffee, bud. Appreciate you. Appreciate the stars and appreciate the support. Lawrence came in with some stars too. With what I'm going to say is a little bit of a simplistic approach here. Last night was due to the fill-in coach, and if we could ever get the coaching right, I think we can go far, because if you look at the games we lost, it was due to coaching.
I mean, good coaches have great players in the Broncos, and a lot of these good coaches have Hall of Fame level quarterbacks, and the Broncos don't have that. I mean, everybody looks at Shermer historically, like, oh man, he's been bad, he's been kicked around. A lot of good coaches, until they have a Hall of Fame quarterback, they suck. It really is that simple in the NFL, right? You have to have that level of quarterback. There's a reason that Rule right now for Carolina is being linked to the LSU job, because they're paying Sam Darnold all this money. And guess what? If you don't have the quarterback in the NFL, you're probably going to be out in a couple seasons. It's that linked to that position.
It seems like the injury factor. I mean, I know by numbers it says, oh, it's not that much worse than anybody else. No way. There's just no way. I mean, how many games are you missing for starters? Jerry Jeudy, you had 3 missing offensive linemen. Both, Von Miller was healthy for the most part, but he's now gone. Consider that almost like an injury. You've lost linebackers every week. Secondary, across the board. It's been uncanny. So, Lawrence, it's easy to say this all gets better if we change coaching staff, because that's easy to change. It's a lot easier to change a coach and a couple coordinators than it is to fix a 53-man roster. But it will get better. There certainly will be improvement. But this team isn't 9-0, 10-0 with Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. There's some flaws in this roster as well, for sure. DWI guys, Ethan coming back in and said, I'm glad I just didn't have my new Broncos for breakfast mug in my hands on that fumble play. Yeah, don't take it out on your stuff.
Only on your personal relationships, right, guys?
Don't take it out on your stuff like that. I've told my kids, they're 10 and 12. I've told them, I said, the part of getting older is knowing when you can and cannot use the swear words that you hear all of us use all the time. So that would have been one of those, I think daddy popped a blood vessel in his eyes type of plays. So I get the anger across the board on that play. Melvin Gordon fumbles where he can't be, and your quarterback just phoned it in. Yeah, that'll make you angry.
Yeah, it's I guess I am just so angry at the defense, right? They're giving up way more points per game this season, despite having less possessions. They are giving up more points and more yards per game this season, despite having better field position. They're giving up more yards and points per game, despite having more expenditures and talent investment on that side of the football. So at some point, what do you even have Vic Fangio here for? He's not beloved in the locker room. He's not good on both sides of the ball. You have him here for his scheme and his defense. And right now his defense is bottom 10 in the NFL. And I know the injuries are happening, but guess what? Injuries, that's part of the game. That's you have to be able to figure that out. And it cannot be as bad as it has been on a consistent basis, or you're going to get what you got against the Eagles.
He's really not overly likable, Vic Fangio.
Yep.
I mentioned last week that his, chest pumping, after the, chest thumping after the Cowboys game really reeked to me of insecurity. Where he was, oh yeah, sometimes you see this stuff after 37 years of coaching in the NFL. And how about them Broncos? And it was a goose egg. And it's like, dude, you're only as good as your latest week in the NFL, and it can turn in a hurry. Let's pump the brakes on some of the bravado just a little bit. And he's not long for this. He's not long for this team. I mean, just no way.
Yep. Naj coming in. Go ahead.
Appreciate you coming in, Naj. Says, hey, brothers, Broncos have a young team, and I believe you need a high-energy coach who can relate to these players. Fangio isn't that. He's arrogant and rarely backs the players the way he does the coaches. As a guy who's approaching OG status, and I think in football terms, I'd still be pretty young, but it's not even just the age. Players want to play for Andy Reid. He's getting old. He's been around forever. It's not that, but you can still be relatable. And I just mentioned this was, I was talking about this while this was coming in, just all the reasons why Fangio doesn't inspire the coaches. There's a lot of me in there, and he doesn't have the track record to back it up. What's his record with the Broncos? About 16-40.
Not good.
When you're gonna go out and chest thump after sneaking one by the Cowboys. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and there's a reason. I don't know how much this is out, I guess, but talking with people in the organization, there's a reason that it's the positional coaches right now doing the motivational speeches and talking with the players before the game and hyping them up and getting them focused, because Fangio is not super relatable or liked in that locker room. He's just kind of a dude right now. It's like kind of that thing where everybody's in their groups talking, having a good time, and then the teacher walks and everybody's kind of quiet and the energy goes down. That's what's going on right now with Fangio in this locker room and this team. And he is not long for the Broncos at this point. I think this was probably the nail. You say this is the nail in the coffin game. We're all doom and gloom right now. The Broncos are one game out.
No, it's already,
right?
There was a flash where did he maybe save himself, with the Broncos. Can they keep playing like that? But that 4-game losing streak against teams that weren't all that great, games that you should have won, a couple of them that you could have won in there. No, This is, like I said, the nails have already been nailed in. Draymond Jones coming in and saying execution by us and coaching pretty simple. That was like the big flag that says, okay, he's done. We're done. It's been announced now.
Yeah. We got Todd coming in saying 5-yard Teddy, and Teddy sucks. Man, it's for me, it's like right now we're on the Titanic, right? And the ship is already taken water. We've hit the iceberg, and we're talking about changing captains. It's okay. Well, whichever one can get you to the bottom of the ocean fastest. That's what we're arguing with at the quarterback position, because neither of these guys is going to be the answer. And I hear, they talk about Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, but the Broncos lose this game probably by more. Maybe it's more exciting. They can melt the comeback, but I think they probably lose this game by more with Teddy Bridgewater, or excuse me, with Drew Lock out there, given the turnovers, but at least he's throwing it down the field. I don't know. It's really so hard to even get upset about one single thing and just the singular quarterback, because you got beat so thoroughly. I mean, we're not even talking special teams, right? The special teams getting the field goal block there when you have another chance to make it I think a 1-possession game on that one. You need the points there. Terrible. You can't do that. And the Broncos team just finding new and cruel and unusual ways to lose games and give up advantages every single week. And it's infuriating.
Well, let's pile on special teams here real quick.
God, God.
So I watched the field goal again. They overloaded their left side, the right side. So they had 4 guys with 3 guys blocking him. And if you're blocking one of those guys, you're never supposed to let anybody inside of you. Make somebody take the long route. So with 3 guys to block him, 4 guys coming, Draymond Jones took the outside guy, and someone came right under his shoulder and blocked it. That's where he got it. Split him. Came in and blocked it. So made that note. The next field goal that goes in, same lineup, for overloading the left side, 4 guys against 3, same block from Draymond Jones.
Yep.
He goes wide right. Somebody cuts in behind him. He didn't get the block that time. It's hard to block a field goal, even if you have a free pass at it. Same thing. So who's correcting these things? The same guy came through the same hole on the same play, and it didn't get corrected.
Yep.
I think there's a phrase that's pretty popular around here: coaching. You know, that stuff's not getting corrected in game. Why not?
Yeah. It's so frustrating. I wish it was just one single thing that we could point at and be like, okay, you fix this and you're in the game. But it's not that. And just some more stats here to unfortunately pile on Teddy Bridgewater. But I think the game plan itself was part of the reason that you saw the checkdowns and whatnot from the lack of ADOT from Teddy Bridgewater, off coverage, too deep, and your offensive line giving up pressure at a ridiculous rate. But these are stats, and it's these offense, everything. It's a team stat, but these fall on the quarterback for me. 1 for 11 on third down. I know you're in a bad position often on first and second down or you're in a bad position on third down because you're not getting it done on first and second down, but 1 for 11 on third down, that's a quarterback stat. 1 for 5 in the red zone.
What was the average to go? Because you're not getting any yards on, if it's 3rd and 12, 10% is about right. So why is it always, the question to me always becomes, isn't just that you're not converting, but why is it always 3rd and 10?
Yep. Nope. That's part of it. It's very unfortunate to see, but yeah, 1 for 11 on third down. That's not going to get it done. And third downs are a quarterback stat. You know what also is a quarterback stat? Red zone. 1 for 5 in the red zone for points. Granted, you had a blocked field goal on one of those. You had a fumble on one of those. Neither of those is directly Teddy Bridgewater's fault, but still 1 for 5 in the red zone when you are having every single possession matters so much with how the Eagles are just gashing your defense. You have to be better than that. So, yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, far from the reason the Broncos lost. It's the easiest thing to pile on. Everybody wants to have it be one single thing. So typically the onus falls on coach or quarterback because they have the most credit when they win and the most blame when they lose. But red zone offense and 1 for 11 on third down, that falls on Bridgewater. That encapsulates it. And we got Merlot coming in right here. I mean, this again, you're arguing about which can get you to the bottom of the ocean the quickest on the Titanic. Guys are arguing over 2 backup quarterbacks. Not great.
And Ethan coming back in. Okay, seriously, at what point is Vic's continued presence as a head coach a detriment for the players? Yeah. I understand we'll get a new head coach next year, but most of these players will be here. Oh, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that if you're not playing 100% in this game, injuries happen, and you start worrying about hurting the confidence of some of your younger players. We've used that example with some of the bad quarterback teams. Trevor Lawrence coming in, or Zach Wilson to a bad Jets team. You can really hurt their confidence early. So that's the thing you don't want to see happen, is stunning the growth of your young core of players. I don't know how long you stick by this guy. Guys have been fired midseason before. If I'm George Payton, I'd go, what do you have? 14 captains or something like that on this team. I'd start having some player-only meetings with some of the players and the captains. What do you think? Find out them, because those are the guys, for the most part, that are gonna be the building blocks of this team for the years moving forward. So you certainly don't want to hurt the long-term viability and the growth of some of these young players. And Collection Connection coming in saying, guys, Teddy had more interceptions than Drew in his first 2 years. Okay. Appreciate that Collection Connection on the stats.
Yeah.
We're at about an hour already, Nick, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. I want to get to this one from Cody. I am a little delusional, but mostly it's for my Hawkeyes. And this is also an issue with Teddy Bridgewater, and I do think a lot of it was dictated based on what the Eagles were doing and what you had offensively. I mean, that first drive, the Broncos tried to do a couple of drop back things, and Cam Fleming led a parade right to the quarterback. So you don't have a lot of time to throw vertically, but Teddy doesn't have the arm talent nor trust his arm to hit those tight windows that only, let's say 25 quarterbacks in the NFL have the arm talent to hit those tight windows, deep vertical outs against cover 2. Teddy doesn't have that arm. He simply just doesn't, and he's not testing that because a turnover there, an interception, kills you more than an incompletion or throwing it short of the sticks. But that's where we are. And I don't know what we're talking about with passing over a Teddy interception. There was only one turnover on the Broncos in this game, and that was the fumble by Melvin Gordon, but you still got your teeth kicked in despite only having that one turnover. So it's rough. I mean, we're down bad right now, but you know what's great is that as high as we were last week and as low as we are right now, the Broncos are still only one game back with, thanks to the Chargers, everything they want in front of them. Probably now the Chiefs go on a massive run, right? That just seems like a team that was just floating around, and the AFC West is bad enough right now that anybody could take it. So the Chiefs, what are they, 5-4 now? They'll probably go on a run and, or 6-4. They'll probably go on a run and kill it. But it's unfortunate. It's a bad game. This is a game the Broncos had to win, and they came out and got beat in every single phase. So I'm with you guys. Teddy, while he's, I think, far from the main problem right now, you're not losing games directly because of him. You're equally, if not further, not winning games because of him, right? So if that means turning to Drew Lock to, let them eat cake, so be it. This team is probably not going anywhere anyway, at least with Drew Lock. You have 2 years of control left. He's younger, and you can do a little bit of different things, testing it vertically. And if you go down, you go down swinging. That's just my perspective on it. But
yeah, put him in the shop window.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. And even if you don't like he's not respected in the locker room, I don't know these things. I'm making this up. I'm just coming up with all the reasons why you don't want Drew Lock as your long-term quarterback. Well, shop him. Yep. Let's have him play. And unless you've deluded yourself into thinking that this is a team that can make a serious run in the playoffs right now, then Teddy Bridgewater just gave you all the ammunition you needed because of that play and that lack of effort on that play in a one-score game to say you're going to have a seat for a week. And we got 2 weeks now to get Drew Lock ready to play.
Yep.
Okay, I'm in. I'm absolutely in.
Yep, 100%. And either way, you get more data then on that quarterback, because 5-5 with what we've seen so far this season. Teddy is not the long-term answer, not somebody you want to pay. Probably never was. Yep.
And again, I still don't see him getting $15 million a year from anybody.
Nope, absolutely not. So that's, he goes into the list of quarterbacks like a Jacoby Brissett, like a Tyrod Taylor, like an Andy Dalton this offseason that, maybe gives you a bridge to another option, but it's really just, treading water. And you have a year and a half left of control with Drew Lock. Probably just need to see what he can do. And at that point, get the most data possible. And we can at least go on for the rest of the season with a better idea of what we have on the team. And it's an unfortunate situation to be, but after you passed on Mac Jones, Justin Fields, this is probably always the most likely scenario. There's definitely a clip out there saying this is probably the most likely scenario because where they're at with both quarterbacks come this offseason. So,
and what we say at the very beginning that kind of got glossed over about Teddy getting picked is like, you can't make that pick without the backing of your team, without you don't make Teddy Bridgewater the quarterback over an incumbent Drew Lock without buy-in from your team.
Yep.
He just hurt that. Hurt that. If I was like, I want this guy, we want this guy, we want this guy, we want this guy, after that play, you're like, man, I don't care anymore. Put him in. Put this other guy in. Yep. So, like I said, damage control. He's got a lot. Teddy Bridgewater is gonna be a leader for this team and be the quarterback of this team. He's got a lot of damage control over the next 2 weeks.
Yep. It's rough, but again, we're just unfortunately probably arguing quickest way to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean for this season with the quarterback, whoever's, first mate or whatever the heck they call it. But, we're still in the playoff hunt. What do we say? I said 9-8 this season. Still very much possible. So we'll see. But guys, we appreciate you. Definitely a safe place to come in and be upset about the game yesterday. We didn't even talk. I don't even think we talked enough about how bad this defense was because the Eagles just whipped them. I'm excited from like a morbid stance to see where the efficiency metrics come out in this game because the defense was that bad.
Are you now done with the AFC North type of teams? Philadelphia Eagles fits better into the AFC North than they do the glitzy Dallas Cowboys. They're much more of a Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns type of team who we've seen the Broncos can't deal with. So is that it for teams like that are just going to bully you in the lines of scrimmage and now it can get back to some, fancy West Coast football?
I'm trying to think. I think we're done with the. I mean, yeah, I really do think that's probably the last team on both sides of the defense and the trenches that it's going to whip you. And also something that I think is important here, and I want to add context because as bad as the defensive line and the defense was in general, the Eagles the last 3 weeks have been the number one offense in football in terms of EPA per play. So they're really starting to hit their stride. And you guys probably we have the Mac Jones game where he's killing it, and he's only scrambled 3 times this whole season. I'm like, okay, well, maybe the athleticism at the quarterback position is somewhat overrated. And then Jalen Hurts comes out as a second-round pick, and he's running these zone options, and it's super efficient and gashing your team time and time again. And I'm right back in on the athletic quarterback,
There's
baby.
more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes. Don't skin cats, though, folks. That's what's up with that phrase. We appreciate you guys. We love you. I know it's definitely a frustrating game, but we're going to be here through all the frustrations and give you guys a chance to vent and hopefully have your voices be heard. I'm with you guys at this point. You know, Teddy, he lost me on that play. You can't have that. The optics are bad. And I'm disappointed. I'm barely older than Teddy Bridgewater, so I can say that he disappointed me. I can do the old man energy on him. Maybe it's time to play Drew. But we love you, folks. Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on Facebook, make sure you're following us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. Hit that bell notification so you know when we go live, you can come join us, vent your frustrations. You know, that's what we're here for. Just a sounding board to have talk through you guys, to have some fun with this while the Broncos are frustrating us. Also, make sure you're following on Scott's YouTube channel. We'll be live there on Wednesday to talk an equally disappointing game, the Falcons versus the Cowboys.
That will be a preview to the Patriots. Speaking of a team that's won 4 in a row and just had a 45-point win of their own
against a good team, on paper at least. Maybe Baker Mayfield isn't it. You know, that as bad as Teddy and Drew Lock are this year, at least the Broncos didn't super invest in that, and you have options going forward. That's the silver lining we're looking for. But follow Scott at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Congrats to the Eagles. They beat the heck out of us. Like we said, coming into this game, 3-6, pish posh. That's a team that's way better on paper. They've lost games close, and they beat the heck out of us this week.
And sorry we missed you too, Pete. So welcome in and catch us on replay. Throw in some comments. I scroll through those a couple times a day on our shows and go through the comments and find out what I said wrong or all that kind of stuff. And don't forget tonight. This is the morning after. I like these morning after shows. And then tonight we've got it's not the gut reaction, the aftermath. What do they call the Monday night shows? So tonight, don't forget 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and we'll see you tonight.
Pain. No, guys, we appreciate you. Have a good one. Frustrating, but you know that's it's gonna be what it is. Sometimes ups and downs.
The good news
still
is
right in
got
it.
2 weeks to stew about it.
So great. Yeah, man, it's awesome. Love you guys. Stay safe. Be kind. And go Broncos.